welcome to SVGTV News and Sports for Thursday, November 21st. I'm Jimmy Prince with the details. Vincentians are being told to think systematically towards putting things in place for their retirement years. Country manager of the First Citizens Investment Services, Nolan Gabriel, told the participants at a seminar on retirement planning that savings are not going to happen on its own. Persons need to make the extra effort to save.
You need financial security at retirement. Okay? I know a lot of people think I'm going to stop working and not going to have expenses. You are. and you're going to have different types of expenses. A lot of times in retirement, you trade one type of expense to the next. Because sometimes you say, well, I don't have to come to work every day, so that's transportation costs. You know what? The older we get, things start to break down. You know, the joints don't work as well. So you trade that for medical expenses and going to the doctor because you don't have to go home.
Gabriel said that Social Security supplement is also required to meet one's living standards after retirement.
The reason we say this is what a lot of people have found is that you're going to need about 70 to 90% of your working income at retirement. That is still a lot. That is still a lot of money that you're going to need. So we must plan for it. Thirdly, another important reason to plan for retirement is the rising cost of healthcare. Okay, more and more insurance companies are saying, oh, this is not going to be covered, or we only cover up to a certain amount. Well, you know what? Well, I just put in my money and nobody told me that. You know, but these things are now happening because they are managing risk on their side.
The Ministry of Agriculture is expected to focus heavily on the revitalization of three main crops in 2014. Minister of Agriculture Subodo Caesar on Wednesday said a significant program to increase the local production of onions, Irish potatoes and garlic will be undertaken next year. Caesar said that the country has a history of growing these crops, but somehow farmers have stopped producing them and now they are significantly contributing to the high food import bill.
I know that farmers who would have grown these traditionally, upon hearing that we are going to venture significantly back into them, will be excited, and we would want you to reflect your excitement by either coming into the ministry here, speaking to the chief, Mr. Grant, who is continuing to do hard work with the extension staff, working with the permanent secretary and other technical staff in the ministry, to see how we can catalog the expression of interest.
According to Minister Caesar, there are certain areas in St. Vincent and the Grenadines which have been traditionally known for the growing of onions, and it is government's intention to engage farmers in these areas.
I know some of them are not into production currently. Some would have gone into bananas, and since the hurricane in 2010 and the black leaf spot, their fields are just basically there. And we want to have a support program around these three commodities. The
Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment is seeking to have the concept of biodiversity become a household name as it seeks to implement the National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan here. Speaking at the media launch of the project on Wednesday, Coordinator Tashika Haynes explains that biodiversity is simply a way of life. Haynes says the project supports integrating the obligations of St. Vincent and the Grenadines under the Convention on Biodiversity into its national development and the sectoral planning frameworks.
Our cultural heritage depends on it, our livelihoods, our way of life, everything from the bread you eat to the water you drink, everything depends on biodiversity. Without biodiversity, we would not be able to even have homes to live in, food to eat, nothing. We would be extinct. And we know that we have a lot of species that are in danger of extinction, and we don't want to become one of them. It is our duty to protect it. It is our duty to preserve and conserve it. It's for our livelihoods, and it is my hope that everybody would eventually do their part. Love life, live life, conserve life.
And head of the biodiversity consultancy team, David Simmons, says they have been carefully selected to ensure the important aspects of the project are brought to bear.
The project is rated, there are two aspects to it. One is to the review of the NBSAP, and secondly to do a revision of the fourth national report. Incidentally, some team members who also had a hand in the preparation of that first MBSCP, and even was done some 13 years ago. So we're back again, and again it was mostly a local team that was responsible for putting that whole project together. And it's important that we have a local team because the information which we're seeking to pull together is information which resides in the country. It resides in the desks and the heads of people who, because of the work that they do on a daily basis. And all we're trying to do is try and put that information together in some kind of coherent fashion. And to do some analysis to let you know how we're doing as far as preserving, protecting our biodiversity is concerned. And most importantly, recognize where one is falling short and be in a position to at least set targets and make changes.
Well, some news on tourism now. This country is the recipient of 2 more prestigious tourism awards. Chief Executive Officer of the Tourism Authority, Glenn Beach, says the awards came from the internationally renowned Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association. Beach said the awards are for a 12-page article in Sports Divers magazine written by Alan Stedman and a half-an-hour show called The Travel Channel, which showcased authentic Vincentian experience to its viewers, uncovering SVG's island secrets.
And we're very proud of it, and congratulations must be given to the SVGTV's team here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and overseas, and our agency in terms of Spring O'Brien, who represents us in the US and Canada, for a job well done. These awards are not easy to come by. I think Vincentians should feel proud of it, and I think it shows that we're getting the name of St. Vincent and the Grenadines out there.
Happy with the recent awards, the Beach says it goes to show that though the country does not have as many resources as the neighboring islands, things are getting done.
I'm not going to say we rest on our laurels because that's never been the case, but I think so many times we love to hear so many of the negative things that when something positive happens, we have to give credit where credit is due, and credit must be given to the SVGTA staff and their agencies overseas.
Young people here are encouraged to be truthful about their sexual activities when speaking to their doctors. More stories in the local scene when we come back. Welcome back. Second-year students at the Division of Technical and Vocational Education today hosted a symposium on violence and sexually transmitted diseases. The symposium was based on a final group project on events and conference management by the students. Lecturer of the program in the Hospitality Department, Violetta Samuels, says the course introduces the learners to the methods and the techniques to be used in planning, organizing, promoting, and delivering major events.
The general objectives of the course are to provide an opportunity for the students to develop flexibility and inventiveness in the provision of event services, develop their capacity to learn by observing and interpreting current industrial practices within events activities, develop attitudes to quality and value in respect of people, management, and customer care. And upon the successful completion of this course, the learners will conduct an analysis of a specific event, prepare a conference or events plan, analyze the resources components required for a given event, including physical and human resources, apply appropriate management skills and techniques as it relates to the planning, organizing, and production of events.
Samuels notes that Hospitality Studies is an associated degree program which trains the students in different areas. She said events and conference planning is going to be one of the career choices they can make after completing their studies.
Some people think sometimes that hospitality is only cooking. It's not like that. These students here, they are trained to work in different areas, and event planning is one of the opportunities they can have. Now, you see how the relation is being with us. Sometimes they think I'm the mommy, sometimes they think I'm the friend and all that. That is part of the event planning program, right? And they have been involved deeply, I would say, deeply into this event.
Well, young people are being encouraged to be truthful about their sexual activities when speaking to their doctors. That's according to Medical Officer Dr. Roger Duncan, that should be Medical Officer of Health, Roger Duncan, speaking to students of the Technical Vocational Education Department of Hospitality at today's symposium. Dr. Duncan outlined that if a person is truthful to their doctor, whatever they are experiencing can be treated in a more efficient manner.
When you go to your doctor and you're going to get a prescription for antibiotics, when you go to your physician and they're talking about sexually transmitted infections, you have to be open with your physician. You have to tell your physician the truth. You have to talk about what your sexual experiences are, whether or not you're involved in oral sex, whether it's anal sex, whether it's vaginal sex, all right, whether you have multiple sex partners. Because this sexual history is very important in making a diagnosis and actually trying to analyze what is your risk for sexually transmitted infection. So,
crime can be reduced through education. That's according to a representative of the SVG Police Force, Junior Simmons. Speaking to students at the Division of Technical College Department of Hospitality Symposium today, Simmons told the students that education is not the be-all and end-all. However, he says education is a vital tool for the development of their minds.
Of certain, things in life, of what violence is, and how to deal with situations. Okay, so more than likely, you may be in a position to deal with confrontations when they arise. So that's a cause of violence, lack of education.
Officer Simmons notes that personality disorders can also be a cause of violence in society.
You may probably be mentally ill, mentally unstable. You may have a mental disease, and that will cause you to be very violent to your friends, your family, and to person in the community. Also intolerance. You may be a very intolerant person. For example, you attend a learning institution here, and there may be someone in your class who you probably don't like them because of the way they speak, or the way they dress, or the way they look. And you may be so intolerant against that person that whenever you see the person, you may probably bully them, tell them something, because bullying is also a form of violence.
In other news, a cohort of early childhood supervisors has been trained in record keeping and reporting. They were trained earlier this week at a Trainer of Trainers workshop which focused on data management systems. The trained supervisors will now return to their districts and educate other supervisors on proper record keeping and reporting. According to the Education Unit of the Ministry of Education, this type of training is expected to reduce the number of erroneous data collected by the ministry, noting that proper record keeping and reporting assist in the planning and decision-making processes undertaken by the ministry and other government agencies. Deputy Education Planner Junior Jack was the facilitator of the workshop, which was funded by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS. Officer Simmons notes that personality disorders can also be a cause of violence in society.
You may probably be mentally ill, mentally unstable. You may have a mental disease, and that will cause you to be very violent to your friends, your family, and to person in the community. Also intolerance. You may be a very intolerant person. For example, you attend a learning institution here, and there may be someone in your class who you probably don't like them because of the way they speak, or the way they dress, or the way they look. And you may be so intolerant against that person that whenever you see the person, you may probably bully them, tell them something, because bullying is also a form of violence.
In other news, a cohort of early childhood supervisors has been trained in record keeping and reporting. They were trained earlier this week at a Trainer of Trainers workshop which focused on data management systems. The trained supervisors will now return to their districts and educate other supervisors on proper record keeping and reporting. According to the Education Unit of the Ministry of Education, this type of training is expected to reduce the number of erroneous data collected by the ministry, noting that proper record keeping and reporting assist in the planning and decision-making processes undertaken by the ministry and other government agencies. Deputy Education Planner Junior Jack was the facilitator of the workshop, which was funded by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS.